to the pit. This is, my name's Kent McDonald, and although we've had a number of these events that we call President's Colloquiums or colloquia, because we've had a number of them now, I think it's important to set the framework of why are we gathered in the middle of a residence to have a discussion and dialogue, and why are we needing to learn about this important subject in a residence. And the reason for that is that in many of our views, we know that a residence is not a hotel. Right? It's not a place where you just sleep. Somehow, at being a residential university, it's part of the academic experience of being at St. FX, and we need to remind ourselves of that every once in a while, and to do that in a tangible way, we decided, how quickly life goes by, 3 years ago, to begin to have these discussions on important topics right in the middle of a residence. In fact, the very first one, we were in here, we had Sister C.J. Willie, who came from the United Nations, join us for an evening where we really was the first time we started to explore social justice. She was the Coady Chair in Social Justice that year, and a year ago we met in this same hall to talk about the refugee crisis, and the Hadad family joined us, and it was powerful and wonderful and sad and unsettling, and it was exactly what we had hoped to do when we come together for these. We've had other colloquia and other residences, and I have been quite clear on my position on what the purpose of a university is. And the purpose of a university is to have uncomfortable conversations about things, because I quite frankly believe that if we can't have them at a university, where are we going to ever have them? And in fact, if you look back over the last 100 years, most of the, if not all, the major social changes that have occurred in this country have been tied back to people on university campuses. And so we have struggled with this topic of sexualized violence on university campuses, and we could just smile and ignore and pretend that it doesn't happen on this campus, or we can get serious about it and talk about it and have a conversation. And we can talk about another topic of mental health and the challenges that all of us, many of us, go through with respect to mental health, but in particular when you're a national university and more than half your students are from away outside the province. It's a concern. So those are some of the topics that we had. And so this year we had a conversation of, well, what are we going to talk about? And the interesting thing is there's always something to talk about. And so in the fall, we were able to gather, and we talked about social justice, but from an Indigenous perspective. And we did it just next door in the Mount, and it was a remarkable evening. And what came out of that was there's 2 areas in our strategic plan that we said we need to get more serious about if we're going to really live one of our pillars of our new strategic plan, which is equity and access. And so we're lucky to have someone like Michael Fisher with us, who can facilitate an evening on the topic that you're going to hear about tonight, social justice, from an African heritage perspective. And so why is this important to me? Well, one, we've said as a community that we need to do a better job when it comes to better serving students of African descent. But on a very personal level, I don't have to go very far from here to my hometown of New Glasgow. And if you know that part of the country, it is a strong and a proud and vibrant African Nova Scotian background. And yet, when I walk this campus and I think of all of these people I grew up with, I wonder, why are these old friends of mine in New Glasgow, why are their children, why don't I see them at St. FX? What's happening there? And what can we possibly do to make St. FX more aware of the things that someone like I am not aware of in terms of serving these communities. And so I'm particularly pleased that Michael is going to facilitate and do our introductions. We do have another guest on the way. They took a left instead of a right, but they are coming. We think around 7:15, maybe. And so if you see anyone run up the middle and hop, it's all good, all right? So with that, this is being taped, as all of these other colloquia have been taped to put in our archives and for you to go back and listen again. And I encourage you to participate. I see student union people here. I see students here. I see faculty colleagues and staff colleagues here. And I see people from the community. And to all of you, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. Well, again, welcome to tonight, and thank you for coming out. Of course, we're going to do brief introductions, and I'll give some context as to